symptoms to help take you from 9 to 9 from Max Strength.
13 News Now is coming on the air right now with breaking news in Hampton. A police officer, we've learned through sources, was hurt in a shooting. Police giving an update on the situation right now. Police Chief Mark Talbot with the Hampton Police Division stepping up to the microphone to brief reporters on this situation that has been unfolding for the last couple hours or so in the area of Todds Lane and Big Bethel Road. Let's listen in now to Chief Mark Talbot with the Hampton Police Division.
All right, good afternoon. I'm Mark Talbot. I'm the police chief here in the city of Hampton. I'm going to ask the team to introduce themselves from my left to right.
Assistant Chief Ferguson, Oren Gallup, Deputy Chief Hampton.
Anton Bell, Commonwealth Attorney.
Matt Ellis, FBI.
Sheriff Jim O'Sullivan, Chesapeake.
Captain Dwayne McNair, Chesapeake.
Greg Mathias, Captain of State Police.
You guys try to keep your voices up too?
We will try.
Thank you.
We're here talking about an officer-involved shooting. The incident occurred this morning at about 11:20 a.m. It was near the intersection of Big Bethel and Todds Lane. The U.S. Marshals Task Force was involved in the incident. The task force consists of officers from the Hampton Police Division, from the U.S. Marshals Service, from the Virginia State Police, from Newport News Police Department, from the Chesapeake Sheriff's Office, and from Norfolk Police Department. The task force officers about that time, at about 11 o'clock this morning, were following a vehicle. Inside that vehicle was a suspect that we believed was wanted for a homicide. The task force officers were attempting to serve a warrant for this particular suspect. The suspect stopped his vehicle at the intersection of Big Bethel and Todds. The suspect almost immediately exited the vehicle and began firing at the task force officers. The task force officers returned fire. In the gunfire, the suspect was struck multiple times. A task force officer was also struck multiple times. Both the suspect and the task force officer were transported to a local hospital. At the hospital, the suspect was pronounced dead. The task force officer is in surgery as we speak. He is in critical condition. The scene at this point is still under investigation, as is the incident. The incident is being investigated by the Hampton Police Division. We expect the intersection of Todds Lane and Big Bethel to be shut down for quite some time to facilitate the investigation. At this point, there is no danger to the public. With that, I will take questions.
Which homicide, Chief? Which homicide are you talking about? Which homicide was he a suspect in? Is it the December 25th one?
We're not going to talk at this point about which homicide.
You said it was a member of the task force. Which police department was that officer in the task force? Which police department was he?
Okay. Can you repeat that a little bit louder? I can't hear from that.
The officer who's in critical condition, you say he's part of the task force. What police department or agency?
It's one of my deputies. It's Investigator Scott Chambers. He's been with us for the past 4 years and was assigned to the task force about a year ago.
What about the name of the decedent?
We're not releasing the name at this point.
Pending notification of family? Or?
Yes.
Did the suspect start shooting right away, or were there some calls for the suspect to get down before the shooting started?
Still under investigation. Preliminarily, the suspect exited the vehicle and immediately started to fire.
Suspect from this area?
Suspect is from this area.
As far as the homicide goes, it happened in this Hampton Road, or is it another state?
It's a local homicide.
Chief, why can't you release which homicide it was? What is the reason?
We're choosing not to release which homicide at this point, pending notification of the decedent's family.
Okay. Where did they start following the vehicle? Like, in other words, how long were they following him? Where did this pursuit or chase or following begin?
It began several minutes prior to the incident. I'm not going to talk about specifically where it began.
How long had the task force been looking at this suspect? Was it today, or how long had that been going on?
For several days.
What's the investigation? Who's going to be leading the investigation into whether the homicide was justified, or is that going to be an HPD?
Well, ultimately, Commonwealth Attorney will decide whether or not it's justified. Hampton Police Division will be leading the investigation into what occurred.
Just for clarification, you said the homicide happened in Hampton Road, the name of the city that the homicide may have happened?
No. We're not going to release it at this time.
Anyone else in the car at the time?
There was another occupant of the vehicle.
Is that person injured, or?
That person was not injured.
Where is that person now?
That person is speaking to our detectives.
In the exchange of gunfire, was anything else hit? Any houses, businesses in the area?
Still under investigation. We don't believe so, but we're still checking.
So the other person is in custody, or?
Person is with our detectives.
So the task force agent is the task force agent. So the task force agent is a Chesapeake sheriff's deputy who's working under the direction of the marshal service, or?
So all of the participants were working under the umbrella of the United States Marshals Task Force.
Is this a group that is always around, or if there's a suspect, they combine together?
They're always around, the area, and they have a different mission depending on what's happening at any point in time.
How many task force agents were following this vehicle?
Several.
More than?
Several.
How many opened fire?
Still under investigation.
Can you say if the homicide investigation that you guys were conducting, was that related to a domestic violence incident?
I don't want to comment on that.
So, Chief, once you release the identity, once you reach the family and do the proper identification, and then at that point, would you release the name, which homicide it pertains to?
Certainly.
Is there anything else more you want to say about the officer who shot or injured at all?
Sheriff. I just say that he's an amazing individual, and just ask for the public to keep him in your prayers and thoughts. And we have a difficult job we perform every day, and this task force is essential to the Hampton Roads area and putting the worst people in jail. And I'm proud of my deputy, and he's in surgery right now. We're hoping everything's going to pull through, and just ask for the public, keep your thoughts and prayers with them, and we'll keep being vigilant and doing our job.
And your name again, sir?
Sheriff Jim O'Sullivan.
Can you say where he was shot? Where on his body?
What's that?
Can you say where on his body he was shot?
He sustained 2 gunshot wounds, one to the upper portion of his body, one to the lower portion.
And this was a sheriff deputy, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
News conference just now wrapping up in Hampton. That city is the site of an officer-involved shooting this morning. We've learned that a homicide suspect who officers were after was shot and killed in an exchange of gunfire with deputies and officers with the U.S. Marshals Task Force Service. In that task force, you have officers and deputies across multiple agencies in Hampton Roads, including the Chesapeake Sheriff's Department, who had one of their deputies shot allegedly by that homicide suspect this morning. So let's walk you through everything that we just learned. It was around 11:20 this morning that this incident began at Big Bethel Road and Todds Lane in Hampton. Members of this U.S. Marshals Task Force Service were following a vehicle, and they believed inside that car was a wanted homicide suspect. Now, authorities did not go into specifics about which homicide that may be, which city that homicide may have been in. But they say at that intersection, the man in that car got out, and according to the Hampton Police Chief Mark Talbot, almost immediately began firing at those task force officers, who, according to Chief Talbot, then returned fire. We're told that that suspect was hit multiple times at that intersection where you were seeing video right now, and then a task force member was also hit multiple times. We just learned from the Chesapeake Sheriff, Jim O'Sullivan, that one of his deputies is the one who was shot. He was shot twice, in fact, in the upper and lower body, and that deputy is now in critical condition at the hospital. The hospital, by the way, is also where that suspect was taken and where he was pronounced dead. We still have a lot of unanswered questions that we will work to bring you today, including who exactly this suspected homicide suspect was who was involved in this shooting. We expect to learn that a little later, but you heard from Chief Talbot. They first want to let this person's family know exactly what happened. We will also be working throughout the day to learn more about the condition of this deputy, and we'll bring you those updates on 13newsnow.com as we get them. And we will have team coverage coming up this afternoon on 13 News Now beginning at 4 o'clock. I'm Dan Kennedy reporting.